morning. It's Shanna. I wanted to do like a bonus video this week. Coyote Tarot has created a list of questions to reintroduce herself on her channel. And I thought it would be fun to do for myself as well, because I'm not sure I've ever done like an official introduce myself video, but I know there's been a few videos where I've like talked about random things that I guess could be considered sort of an introduction video or just like a get to know me. I thought it would be fun. And I have her list of questions here. So that's, if I'm looking down, that's what we're doing. So let's just get started. The first one is, before we start, I wanted to say she's got it broken down into groupings. So it looks like she's got 4 groups. She's got the basics, decks, your practice, and then YouTube and TarotTube, YouTube/TarotTube. So the first section is the basics. Where are you from? I'm from Utah originally, which honestly, I generally don't tell people. I mean, if they ask point blank, where are you from? I will tell them that I'm from Utah, but it almost always leads into a story or explanation or all the things. So usually if I'm introducing myself, I just say, because I live in Oregon right now, I just say, we moved here from Texas. So it's a little more, I don't know, Texas is a more fun story than Utah was. So, you know, when I say we moved here from Texas, it leads into a better story than the I'm from Utah story. So, second question, how did you come up with your YouTube name? I just used the name that I have on Instagram, which is Sincerely Shanna D. And honestly, I changed my Instagram handle a few, probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It used to be something else. I can't even remember what it used to be, but it used to be exclusively a planner account where I would like decorate my happy planner and share spreads on there, which is so funny. When you get into whatever little niche thing you're into, there's always social media for it. So when I found tarot again, I sort of transitioned, I guess I sort of combined them for a little while and then just transitioned all the way over into tarot. So I just figured it was easiest to keep my name the same for all the channels and for all the social media. And so yeah, that's how I came up with it. And I think the way I came up with it was I thought it sounded good. It flowed well. So how long have you been reading tarot? Technically, I've been reading it since I was 16-ish, 15, 16, which is a long time. I'm 49, but I only read it, you know, I read it for myself like as a teenager, and then some of my friends who were brave enough to let me do it, which were few and far between because Utah. This is what I'm talking about with like the story time when it comes to Utah. Like I feel like there's all this stuff that I could say, but it's relatively irrelevant at this moment in time. So yeah, tarot, at least, you know, in the 90s was not something that we ran around talking about. So anyway, and so then fast forward to my 20s, I got married, we had kids, my husband and I had kids, and another long story short, I decided to put tarot away for a while. So, you know, all of the witchy things I had just like a little section in a cedar chest that I had, and everything was put in there and essentially not used for 2 decades. And then when we moved from Texas to Oregon, you know, we went through all of our stuff, and I had previously gone through kind of like a Marie Kondo phase and donated a lot of those things, including all my crystals, including my first tarot deck. And fast forward to 2021, when I think tarot was probably at its highest moment of popularity, and I got back into it. So technically, you know, 3 decades or something? I can't do math. A long time. But really studying tarot and understanding it and like fully like using it and being able to understand it the way that I understand it now, just since 2021. So let's see, how did I get into reading tarot and oracle? I don't know how. I don't remember how I know there was a moment in time where I went to some fair or something, and there was a tarot reader there, and I'm going to take a drink of tea. And she gave me a reading, and I remember thinking that it resonated really well with me. It had to do with a current boyfriend, and it was funny because I remember when she gave me the reading, she was very serious. You know, she kind of touched on a few topics and then got really serious, and essentially, if I remember correctly, essentially said that I wasn't going to be with this guy for much longer. He wasn't the one. Like, and she was like, I feel like she was really trying to tell me something. Like, it was one of those moments like that a wise elder is trying to get this across to this teenager. Like, no, he's not the one. Like, you need to understand that he's not the one. And I feel like that really resonated with me. I don't know if that's the exact moment where I decided to go. I'm sure I went to Barnes & Noble. That's where I bought my first deck, which was the Mythic Tarot, I think is what it's called. The one with the Greek mythology. And yeah, I mean, it could have also been Charmed, the old, you know, the movie Charmed, or TV show. But I really feel like what started it all was that tarot reader. So it'd be interesting to get to chat with her again, which, who knows? I have no idea who she was. A random lady. Do I read for others? Not professionally. And I rarely, I don't offer readings, mostly because I feel weird about offering something. It's kind of like, do you want me to tell you something about yourself? It just feels kind of intrusive. So I wait for people to ask me if they can have a reading, which I've done a couple readings for people at work, like literally 2. I've done a reading for my daughter, and I met a person a couple years ago. I did a reading for him, and that's pretty much it. I would like to read more for people. I'm not really sure how to dive into that. And again, it makes me really uncomfortable to offer it instead of having it requested, if that makes sense. So I'm not quite there yet. Maybe, I don't know if I ever will be, but so no, not really. Okay, decks. Do I use Oracle with Tarot? Yes, although far less than I used to. I feel like I will pull out a pairing. I won't even say like most of the time, but maybe a lot of the time. And I enjoy doing it when I feel like I need a little either clarification or more of a broader sense of like the vibe. If I want more of a vibe from my tarot reading, then I will pull out an Oracle deck to go with it. So how many decks do I have? I actually intended to count, because when I saw Coyote Tarot's video, I wondered how many I had. I'm going to guess around 150. I don't know. It's probably about 150. I know I did count at one time. It put me at about 100, but decks have come and gone since then. But I've definitely purchased quite a few since I've counted. So if I had to guess, that's what I would say. Where do I store my decks? Shelf. This is my space. I've got my desk here and my altar, and then I've just got this shelf behind me. I also have a cabinet in our guest room that dozens, are stored in. Sorry, I thought I saw a spider. Nope. And then downstairs I have 2 bookshelves that have so the bookshelves open like this, and then on the right side of each one there's like a second main compartment shelf. And so 2 of the words. So that second compartment on each bookshelf is where I keep my tarot decks, on those shelves. So shelves, lots and lots of shelves. I also keep some in my nightstand, or on my nightstand, but that's pretty much it. I used to have them spread like all over the house, but I don't anymore. The shelves have housed them quite nicely for where I want them. How do I store my decks? Mostly in their boxes. I have a little, like a a board with bird hooks here by my desk that I put the decks that I consistently use, like daily use decks, but generally just in the box. I like them in the box. That way I can see what they are, the guidebooks with them. I don't worry about them getting bent or oops or whatever. So yeah. What do I look for in a deck? I've come to discover that I enjoy a more serious deck. I struggle with the cute ones. I struggle with vector images. It doesn't have to be photography like necessarily, but I do really enjoy a photography deck, which I have just recently sort of discovered. But I do like a more serious deck. I mean, I don't know, like, I feel like I like a deck that can go deeper, which I guess any deck can go deeper depending on who you are and how it's, you know, reacting with you. But yeah, I would say a more serious deck, for lack of a better term. How would I describe my deck collection? I would say relatively eclectic. I don't really have a theme per se. But yeah, just kind of a more, I don't really know how else to describe it. It's just, I feel like it's a more serious collection. Not, that makes it sound presumptuous. I don't know. I'm kind of a serious person. Like I'm sort of a type A person with type B tendencies. And so I guess I would say my deck collection is type A with type B tendencies. I don't know what that means. That just seems to make sense. Do I have a go-to tarot and oracle deck? Yeah, I do. Right now I'm using the Line Strider and Otherkins Tarot as my daily. That's one of the ones hanging here. I went through and I lined up the two decks side by side in order, and then I chose one card from each deck to create its own deck. And it's kind of perfect. That's the one I've been using for several months now, just as a daily reader. And so that's my go-to. Although also I have the Chrysalis Tarot. This is one I used for my year ahead spread for the year. So that one's definitely a go-to. As far as oracle decks, I have several, here that I pull regularly. Right now, I'm really into the Mystical Shaman Oracle. This is a repurchase, and honestly, I haven't really used it, but I'm glad I have it. I really, really like it. The Chroma Mystic I use pretty regularly. That's a go-to just because it goes with literally any deck. The Outlaw Oracle I like, though I haven't really pulled it out a ton lately. And the Botanicals deck, which I think I'll be using more now that it's, spring and summer. I didn't use it quite as much in the winter, but let's see. Do I rehome decks? Yes, I do quite often, actually. And I have quite a collection of decks that I would like to rehome, but just haven't quite found their home yet. And I actually called a local bookstore this week and asked if they take decks, and they do. So I will probably take most of them there just because I'm tired of holding on to them. If people are asking for them, I hate to hold on to them. It stresses me out to hold on to things that I don't want. And so, yeah, they're just taking up space. There will probably be a few that I'll hang on to because maybe they're more expensive ones, or maybe I'm not quite 100% sure on that I want to rehome yet, but generally I think next week they will probably be out the door. So if you're curious about the decks, let me know, and I can give you a list. What determines if it leaves my collection? If I don't use it and I don't want to use it and I don't like it. I feel like those three things, it's pretty much guaranteed going to leave. Not using a deck is not reason enough to rehome, because I feel like I go through seasons. And so if I don't use a deck for 6 months, but I feel like I might use it next summer or next winter, that's not a reason for me to rehome. It has to be something that I don't use and really don't want to use. It's kind of like when you have that friend that you don't really hang out anymore with and you don't feel like calling them and you're like, it's okay if we're not friends anymore. It's kind of like that. Like it doesn't really bother you to think that maybe it's just, it's just not meant for you. Not meant for me. Okay, your practice. What does your tarot practice look like? Daily, location, tools you use. When do you turn to the cards for answers? Almost every single day. Yes. For about 3 years, I journaled every single day as well. I was using Lionheart's journal prompts, and that worked really well for me for a long, long time. I still put them in my planner / journal every month just because I like having that option there if I want to write about something, but I'm not really sure what to write about. But I haven't been using it very often, and I don't tarot every single day lately. Multiple times a week, though, for sure. Journaling still multiple times a week. And it used to be that I would come up here in the evenings after dinner. My husband and I usually watch a show at night after dinner, and so I would come up after that and journal, and I do still come up here during that time, but I don't always. Sometimes I'll just flip through a deck. I don't necessarily journal. I do really, really enjoy, if I have time, journaling and taroting before work. So it just, especially now where it gets light earlier, so when I'm sitting up here, the sun's out, and it just feels kind of like a nice way to ground me for the day. And I've noticed that when I have the time to do it and I can pull a card, especially if it relates to my day ahead, it gives me something to focus on if I'm having a moment, during the day, if I'm feeling frustrated or angry or sad or whatever. I can look back or think back to the card that I drew that morning, and that's really helpful. Just kind of like bringing things back to perspective and reminding myself that this moment is not my whole day. So let's see, location. Again, I generally almost always am up here at my desk. It's the quietest spot. I'm not in anybody's way. And so, yeah. Tools that I use. So there for a long time, I was using like a ritual oil from, I want to say it was Poison Arrow Apothecary. I'll link up below, but I'm pretty sure their shop is still on vacation, which is a huge bummer because I really, really like their oil, but it only lasts about a year, which is fine. She's got like herbs and stuff in it, so it's obviously not going to last forever. So I've bought it twice. She's in Canada, and I'm thinking even if her shop was open, I might not want to spend the money on the shipping to get it here. I don't know. I'm not sure what that looks like right now. But anyway, it smells delicious. So that's what I was using. I will say, however, when I use oils, I drop it on the back of my hand and then rub the back of my hands. I don't like it on my fingers. I don't like the way it feels. I don't like getting it on my decks. So I'll rub the, backs of my hands, and once it's pretty well rubbed in, then I'll go with my palms just to get the scent, because I do like the scent on the cards. I just don't want the oily fingerprints. However, now that I'm not really using that, I created my own oil, which is good. I actually when they sent me that oil, they sent kind of like, it wasn't like an ingredient list, but like here's the herbs I used for this oil. So I took that list and tried to create my own, and it's close-ish smelling. I definitely added too much. I don't remember what it was, but it smells a little bit like black licorice, which it's not my favorite smell, but it's not bad. So that's okay. It's okay. But when I was watching Coyote Tarot's video, she said she sprays her hands with Florida water, and I thought that was a really good idea because, again, it's not going to be oily. I really like Florida water, and I have a little jar here that I keep by my desk. So I don't know why I had to show you that, mostly because it's cute. However, I also do have a rose water, and I think I'll pull that down. I want to try that. So I like that idea. And so I'll probably be using that, incorporating that. As far as other tools, like for tarot specifically, not really. I enjoy having things on my altar, like for the season, for the month. And I feel like those things sort of help me get in the mood and set the vibe for a reading. When do I turn to cards for answers? I don't want to say all the time, but for a lot of things. I feel like I use the cards in the way that some people use prayer for answers, which makes me a little uncomfortable, I'll be honest. And it's a place I've been in for a while. And I've been questioning kind of what does that mean? And what am I getting from it? And what does that mean I believe? What does that mean I practice? So it's an interesting place to be, because my whole life I have pushed so hard against, I guess a higher being or a higher source or spirit, any of those kind of things. And so for me to acknowledge that tarot is for me what prayer is for other people, at least in my mind, and that's not putting words in other people. My intention is not to put words in other people's mouth. If that's not what prayer is for you, that's totally fine. I'm not, So in my mind, that's what I imagine it to be. So I use it for grounding. I use it to alleviate anxiety. I use it for guidance. I very rarely use it for predictions. Every once in a while, but I'm very careful with it, because I don't want to do a predictive reading where I'm going to be disappointed or scared or worried or excited and then disappointed. I'm very careful about it. I might say, what do I need to be aware of for the day ahead? Which I guess is predictive, but that's more of for me at least, it's more of hey, give me an idea of what's coming up so that I can prepare myself for how I might react in that situation. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's see. What does a typical tarot reading look like with or for you? I will obviously always shuffle the deck. I like to do the riffle shuffle and the bridge if I can, if the deck allows it, the cardstock. And then I will pretty much always do overhand, just because I like to take jumpers. I almost never just select the card myself. One thing that Coyote Tarot mentioned is if a card is a jumper before she asks the question, she'll put that back in. And generally speaking, I do that as well. I'm like, excuse me, you don't even know what I've asked. You don't even know what I'm going to ask. Every once in a while, in my head, if I know the question, but I haven't really spoken it out, and I get jumpers, I will take those, because I feel like, the whole point of tarot is that the deck knows, right? Or I guess for me, the whole point is that the deck or spirit or whatever energy it is that you're asking guidance from knows your question if it's been in your head. So I will take jumpers even if I haven't spoken the question out loud, if I knew what the question was in my head. And so sometimes because of that, I will, for spreads specifically, I will speak out all three, whichever, however many cards it wants in that spread. I will read out each of the prompts, so that if for some reason, if I'm shuffling and 5 cards pop out for a 5-card spread, I'll take those 5 cards. Yeah. Did I answer that question? But typically, I don't really stick with 1 or 2 or 3. I usually I'll ask the question and I'll take however many cards jump out. If I feel like I need to ask more questions or more clarification, then I will ask for that and then overhand shuffle again and get more cards. So let's see. Oh, I lost there we go. What kind of content is your favorite to post and watch? I really like to post the catch-ups. I feel like they're the most straightforward and structured, which I like straightforward and structured. I just have a little sticky note so that every month I kind of know the points I want to hit on. And then every once in a while, I will have an extra sticky note of things I want to also mention for that month. And then videos I like to watch, I really like tours. bookshelf tours, altar tours, witchy room tours. I just think it's fun. I like watching people, their spaces. Ritual videos. I do like to watch, but I feel like sometimes that puts more pressure on myself than needs to be, which is silly. So depending on what the ritual is, I might not watch those anymore. Yeah, I think the wrap-ups, the catch-ups, those are probably my favorite. Yeah. Okay, how did you get into creating a YouTube channel? I just really wanted to connect here. I loved watching everyone, all of their content, the tarot content. And there for a while I was like obsessed, I think as most of us are, especially in the beginning with watching walkthroughs, because I just wanted to know about all of the decks. And I wanted to participate in that. And my collection had started growing. And so I just wanted to be able to also share what my collection looked like. Yeah. And then knowing what I know now about YouTube or / TarotTube, is there anything I would do differently? Not really. I'm pretty satisfied with my channel. I appreciate how honest and straightforward everyone is on TarotTube. I don't feel like we're not, we're not like a fashion corner of YouTube. We're not, a lot of us don't come on here with makeup or necessarily have our hair done, which, I don't know if you can see all the fuzzies. I just washed it this morning, so it's a little fuzzy. But it's a very casual, natural, real place to be. And that's kind of what I've tried to do myself. And I've tried really hard. I've tried really hard to be authentic, which I guess it doesn't take a lot of effort to be authentic, but I think the way I've done it here and the way I've presented myself and the way I've presented my content is very honest and straightforward. So I really don't have any regrets. I don't think I would do anything differently that I can think of. And I think that's the last question. So I'm going to keep it under half an hour today and just want to say thank you for being here. And if you finished watching the whole thing, thanks for spending a few minutes with me, and I will catch up with you guys next time.